Yeah, so we are talking once more about the Canucks and the Oilers game. Not necessarily about the details and the breakdown and the goals and the tail of the tape and everything, because in this video I wanted to focus more on the PP. No, not the power play. I wanted to talk about two guys on the Oilers whose names happen to start with P, who happen to have some form of a connection with Vancouver from this game and from their careers. So today I wanted to respond to some of the Vancouver discourse in regards to the Cory Perry drama and go over a little update because Vasili Podkolzin ended up speaking about his time in Vancouver and how everything is a lot better, it seems, for him in Edmonton. As always, the show is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Go out there and check out the first link in the description if you want to get some free VPN months, save some money, and help the channel out in the process. But I wanted to start this entire video off by talking about the Cory Perry situation. And it's been a while since we had last talked about Cory Perry drama. In particular, I think it was a year ago that the entire thing with him in Chicago went down, but there's been a lot of Canucks response, and people in my comments section, people in my DMs, and people asking me in calls and stuff, like, hey, Lego, what are your thoughts on, like, Cory Perry? This guy, man, he's such a menace, isn't he? If you didn't catch it, Cory Perry was going out there and ruffling the Canucks' feathers quite significantly throughout the course of this hockey game yesterday. He face-washed Quinn Hughes before headlocking the guy and shoving him face first into the ice. That was enough to piss off a whole bunch of Canucks fans, of course. Cory Perry was also getting into it with Miller at the end of the second period. They had a long chat on the ice before they both ended up leaving the playing surface. You can tell it was a little bit heated. In the post-game press conference, Perry said that he just asked Miller what he had for dinner and how everything was going. He was kind of smiling, too, while he was saying that, so you know that he was joking. Obviously, there was probably more harsh words being thrown out there, but Perry was a really menacing force in yesterday's game. It was even exemplified with the moments with Teddy Blueger and Mark Friedman. Blueger dropped the gloves trying to fight Perry. Perry didn't drop the gloves, which resulted in Blueger taking away the Canucks' potential only power play opportunity in the game. Mark Friedman also got a 10-minute misconduct for going out and shoving Cory Perry. It was at an inopportune time, and the referees were trying to manage the game, of course, you know? Always trying to manage the game. And Friedman got the boot because of it. Cory Perry was pure villain mode Cory Perry yesterday. And there were a lot of folks talking about, oh, like, this is the Canucks and their lack of pushback. They responded too late. You can't let Perry go out there and go after Quinn Hughes. If Nikita Zadorov was still on the Canucks, there's no way Cory Perry would have gone out there and done that. And I agree with that assessment. I definitely do think that the Canucks and their lack of fight and pushback in these physical situations was a factor that allowed Perry to run circles around the Canucks mentally and physically. But at the same time, you know, I'm walking away out of this game maybe just so mentally defeated as a Canucks fan that I didn't really have as much of an emotional response as many of my other Canucks fan peers and friends did. Like, I saw a lot of people really upset. Cory Perry this, Cory Perry that. Oh, you're such a bum. This guy, the Canucks should have knocked his rocks in. And I just kind of sat there thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, no, the Canucks didn't really do that. They're not feisty enough. Their hearts are not in it enough to be able to bounce back and fight back. Because at the times that they did, they ended up getting misconducts, and they ended up getting penalized, and Teddy Blueger did the wrong thing. He didn't keep his composure, and he didn't give the Canucks the power play opportunity. And more so, for me, I was like, yeah, that's just Cory Perry. Like, Perry does that. He does that all the time. Like, is anybody surprised that Cory Perry went out there and rocked the Canucks mentally? Like, he does that. Why is anybody going out there shocked? And maybe it's less shock and more disappointment, outwardly disappointed in their own hockey team's response to it all, that you're now seeing a whole bunch of takes like this. Bagged Milk says, I love Cory Perry going after Quinn Hughes. Tyler Yakemchuk says, agreed. And then Grady had a post that went kind of viral amongst Canucks fans, but I thought Cory Perry wanted to see the star players protected more. Ian McIntyre said this, just so I understand this, Cory Perry, denouncer of NHL officiating, advocate for the Stars, throws Quinn Hughes on his head without accountability and is praised for his savvy by those wailing about the treatment of McDavid and is a hero in Edmonton? Fair enough. So obviously pointing out the irony in Cory Perry being heralded for talking about his treatment of protecting the NHL stars, only to go out there and start lambasting those words by taking Quinn Hughes down to the ground face first. Hockey fans' emotions can get so funny at times, right? Shifting gears, though, I did want to talk a little bit about another Edmonton Oiler whose last name happens to start with P. It's Vasili Podkozin, because of this article published on dailyhive.com from 2 days ago. Take a look at this. It was published by Preston Hodgkinson. Podkolzin relishes a fresh start in Edmonton after the Canucks and Oilers trade. The article talks about how Podkolzin was sent over to Edmonton following a difficult tenure where he struggled to be an everyday NHLer and could not get the trust of his coaches. Podkolzin now finds himself as a mainstay within the Oilers' top six, right beside Leon Draisaitl. For a team that likes to shake up its forward lines, Podkolzin has been a constant, rarely moving off of Draisaitl's line. It's the type of trust he could not get on the West Coast. Podkolzin then talked about how the entire trade was for him. Sometimes you just need a fresh start, Podkolzin told Daily Hive after Tuesday's pregame skate in Edmonton. When I got traded to Edmonton, just hanging out with the guys for the first few days, and I started understanding I'm on the right team and I am in the right spot. Of course, it helps that Podkolzin is playing with the Hart Trophy candidate on a nightly basis. The two have developed quite a bit of chemistry so far this season, and Draisaitl has even gone out of his way to praise the young Russian's ability at times. He's a really, really good hockey player, Draisaitl said. He's really smart and he passes the puck well. He makes the right plays almost every single time. He gets in on the forecheck. He's hard to play against. Podkolzin then spoke about what makes him so effective alongside of Leon Draisaitl. It's a good question. Ask Leo, probably. It's a great opportunity for me, and of course, he turned my career around in a good way. It's a privilege to play with players with that, and I don't know how we're still playing together. To be honest, it's good. You learn something every day. And I wanted to give Pods his shout out over here, because he has 6 points in his last 10 games, 3 points in his last 5. He's been still physical. He's been taking shots, he's been putting himself in the right areas. Sure, his tenure in Edmonton didn't start out all too well. Back in October, he was getting some 8, 9, 10-minute games, and he wasn't scoring any points. But ever since the move to Draisaitl's wing, I get it, of course, he's playing with Draisaitl, he's going to get more points. But the fact is, Podkolzin always has had a pretty reasonably good hockey mind. In Vancouver, there were always questions as to whether or not the Canucks were utilizing him to his best ability and whether or not Rick Tocchet really trusted this dude. But Podkolzin at his best was always a hard-nosed, really rough and forward-thinking winger. A guy who would be a beast on the forecheck and block shots with his heart on his sleeve. Maybe he didn't have the pace that Rick Tocchet was looking for, nor the defensive responsibility, but Podkolzin's heart was always in the right place. He wasn't a Nikolai Goldobin skilled-up Russian guy who would not play defense and who wouldn't do anything on the opposite side of the puck. Podkolzin would try. He would always put in effort, and he would always do a pretty reasonable job at that. It's just with Edmonton, with a player who is so smart like Leon Draisaitl giving Podkolzin his praise and saying, yeah, that guy's a really smart hockey player, he makes the right play every time. There's a reason why Podkolzin hasn't been removed from Draisaitl's wing. And I don't want to spin this as an entire, the Canucks made a mistake by letting him go type of thing, but I just wanted to say, man, Podkolzin is on pace for a career year after opening the season up with 1 point in his first 10 games. If you remove the 1 point from his first 10 games, Podkolzin has 18 points in 38 games played this year. That overall is a point production pace of about 40 points, which is really good for Podkolzin. And now you're thinking about it like, hey, if he sticks around with Draisaitl long term, the guy's making $1 million till the end of 2026 and he's a top 6 player in Edmonton. I mean, this seems like a really big win for the Edmonton Oilers. So I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Cory Perry and his entire shenanigan tirade against the Canucks, as well as Vasili Podkolzin's newfound success with the team. How much of a surprise is this? Do you think the Canucks got cheesed out here? And if you're a fan of the Edmonton Oilers, what are your thoughts about this all? Where do you think Podkolzin's career goes from here, and how long do you think he's got on that Draisaitl line? If he plays an entire season with Draisaitl, does he get to 40, 50, maybe 55 points? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.